It's a high-tech conversation.
And a low-tech topic.
Live on the World Wide Web via Zoom. Bench Talk 101.
Welcome to Bench Talk 101. For tonight, we have a particular topic talk and a presenter. It's one of our own. It's Robert Jones. He will be talking about the Womble Bench. And I hope, Robert, you're going to be explaining what Wombles are, because North Americans may not know.
Too
I'll
young
leave
to
that to
know
you.
myself.
I'll leave that to you. As I said, Robert is one of our own. So just a reminder to anyone, we are, I find, an interesting group, but also an interested group. So if there's anything you've got up your sleeve you think you might be toying with the idea of bringing to the group, I think you'll always find a willing audience, a receptive audience, and general interest. And one other thing I wanted to say, let me think. Oh yeah, we were talking about this just now. So just out of courtesy for Robert, who's got a lot to get through, if we can save questions for the end, we'll come back to that. But the usual format applies. If you've got a question to ask, please raise your hand using the reactions button at the bottom. With that then, Robert, if you're happy, I will pass to you. I will spotlight you, and we'll kick off there. You're on. Over to you.
Good evening, all. This bench build is it was inspired by an after hours bench talk, which generally went along the lines of making do with what was to hand, what you've got. Brief and simple. Build a cheap temporary bench with a flush mounted record number 52.5E vice. I drew the vice in full scale as a reference to help me along, but there was no real plans to the design. It was dictated that a ladder frame construction was to go on top of the an old office desk that was going to repurpose as the base, and the bench itself would dictate the size of the ladder frame along with the old blockboard tops that I repurpose. And the placement of the vice is a bit more central. I decided to play it safe to allow for access for underneath the vice, but that was unnecessary. Anyway, there's no real fixed plan. It was just a case of thinking a few steps ahead, few compromises here and there, but yeah, it evolved from there really. So if you'd like to go to image 1, Phil, if you would please, and we'll get on with it then.
Yep, we'll do. Right, first things first, are you seeing, is everyone seeing the image?
Yep.
Yeah.
Is everyone also seeing Robert, or just the image?
I'm going to move over so I can get my notes out.
We're seeing Robert at the side as well.
I was going to let Robert off the hook on this. Hang on. I'll deal with that. Just scroll down to get you. So carry on, Robert. I will take you out of the spotlight shortly.
Okay. Right, so this is what the top consists of. They're all worktops left over in building acquired. I thought they were blockboard, but they're like a cross between blockboard and batten board. They're quite soft, full of voids. Not really recommended, but they were free into hand. So this is what the top will consist of. So we'll move on to the next photo when you're ready, please. The ladder consists of C24 timber, is 6x2 construction grade, so not the best quality, but used a heavily cambered iron in number 3 plane to remove the most of the bulk, like a scrub plane. Making do with trestles and the worktop surface, the bench top surface to be then as a makeshift bench. And we can move on to the next one when you're ready.
Just stop doing its thing. There we go.
These are the two rails the front and back rail that will make up the ladder frame. So they're just clamped together and jointed to the same dimensions. They ended up a little bit shorter than ideal, but we'll address that as we move on. So we can go to the next photo, please. This is just to show really the amount of time that it took to calibrate the compound microsaw to get everything nice and square, to give a fighting chance while moving on. That's all that one shows really. So I decided to do tapered sliding dovetails for the joints of the ladder frame. And it's been a while since I used the tools, and all my tools were new to me, so I decided to make a pairing jig to help the process, trying to avoid introducing any mistakes. So that's the pairing jig. Weapons choice in the top left corner. Like the idea of leaving marking gauges set up for specific tasks, and I found I could do with another one, at least, to be honest. So there's the tools, the marking tools, all laid out and being used for the first time. Everything's marked except for the ends of the tails on cross members, which I left for last, basically. So the housings were all cut on the rails to begin with, and we can move on when you're ready. Right, this is just a quick check, make sure that nothing's moved, all the alignment's good. The saw is just there as a filler shot, as with a few of these collages, just to make the collage work. They're all relevant in some way. So it's next then is on to cutting the tails of the cross members. And with a couple of the drawers removed from the bench, from the desk rather, and use of an old end panel left over from a kitchen, I was able to get good work holding to cut the tails on the cross members, and stop partway through then to lap the chisel somewhat, because they were second hand, and against the pairing jig you could tell they were wandering a bit, causing a bit of a problem. So that's that slide. And this is the first tapered sliding dovetail that I've ever cut. Granted, I used the jig, but the joint went together, and it was A1 in fairness. It was nice and tight. I was chuffed to bits with it. Little bit of a slip up with the saw, and see, I was afraid of cutting too close to the line, but I was chuffed to bits. Everything went great there. All the alignment was good. So I was on to cutting the rest of them then. That's that photo. So there's the ladder frame glued up. There was no real need for clamps, but I used them anyway. I think I put the ends in first, followed by the three in the middle. Because they tapered sliding dovetails, they knocked in from the top, and there's no chance of them slipping down. And we can move on to the next one, please, Phil. And this is what I refer to as the vice mounting block. It'll be dovetailed into the front rail, as well as the two cross members either side of the vice. And the coin represents where the counter bore hole will be for the heads of the bolts, which is secure with a vice onto the block. The image on the right just shows the block let into the the frame with the side shoulders cut. We'll go on to the next photo, please. That's just the same view, picking up from the last one, just a view from the front. The dovetail's ready to be marked out onto the ladder frame. We can go on to the next one then, please. So everything chopped out. And the top right photo shows the packing spacer added to the bottom of the vice mounting block. And then bottom right then shows it fitted. Couple of little gaps here and there, but solid enough and accurate enough. Does the job. So on to the next one, please. And that's just a glimpse of where we're currently at. Go on to the next one then when you're ready, please. So this is cutting out for the vice. It's going to be recessed into the front rail. It leaves the bottom of the front rail open, but we'll address that later. We're ready to move to the next one. This is just an excuse to use the chisel plane, really. Flushing the packing block to the cutout on the front rail, and offering the vice up for the first time. And we can move on. At this point, I decided to put like a reinforcement spine through the middle of the ladder frame. So I was back out to buy some 3x2. And you see the components stacked up in the top right-hand corner, planed up ready. We'll move on to the next one. So here's the components on the right. Starting to get a bit more confident with the saw now. Most of the components are stop tapered sliding dovetails, bar one, which are just straight tapered dovetails. Must have fell asleep at that point, so I had to recut that component. And we can go on to the next one. Again, it's just an excuse really to use the compass plane for the first time. But it's quite an elegant looking piece to create clearance for the bars for the vice. And we can move on to the next. Here's the spine as viewed from underneath the ladder frame there. There's an additional thicker piece that's been added in, which will I was added in to prevent bounce in the bench when chopping out mortises. And that's the spine components complete. And we can move on to the next. Right, these my late uncle cut these plugs for me. I forget what size they are, but I didn't have the right size plug cutters to cut these, which I needed to fill the holes of the board in order to center the bit in order to drill a counterbore. So cheers, Will, and they allowed me to move on. So we can go on to the next image, please. Right, the little bit of clearance with a gouge, just roughed it out to allow for some clearance for the bit to bore the holes. I eventually used nylock nuts, and the bottom right image then shows the head of the nut counterboard tidy, everything worked out, albeit the tolerances are pretty tight with that dovetail. But got away with it. So on to the next, please. Well, this is just cleaning up all the top, making sure it's all nice and flat and no wind or twist. We can move on then. the top left, you start with just making sure that the front rail is square to the top. There's ash skids then fitted to the bottom of the rails. You see in the top right and the bottom right. It's already heavy enough and solid, sturdy to support the vice when it's fully extended. The bottom left image shows the bottom two boards laminated together and notched around the rear draw of the vice. The top board's yet to be laminated. They were laminated with they glued, used a matrix of screws until the glue would set. And yeah, that's just checking out then, ready to fit the tops, and we can move on to the next slide when you're ready, please. Right, I had to cut the desk top down the desk rather down to size, and the only way I could do it was using the track saw on its side. Phil's gone.
Phil's dropped out. Well, now he's back.
No worries,
He'll get the slides back up in a second.
No problems. Oh, sorry, I was miles away. I was checking what number I was on. 25. Right, yeah, as I was saying, to cut the desk down to size, I had to run the track saw on its side basically. So you see the rail clamped to the side of the desk, and the waste piece which would be above the blade in the cut then is secured with battens from behind, screwed in, sacrificial piece. So the cut was made like a trench cut then, and the battens retained the waste. So top right then is I'm using fence post brackets to secure the ladder frame down into the desk. I use the breast drill because it offered better clearance, and the chuck is more concentric than the cordless. And the cordless was used to enlarge the holes slightly on the brackets in order to receive the bolts. And the Roman toilet-like clearance holes are just that, they allow some access rather to tighten the bolts down onto the desktop. And we can move on then, please. Top left shows the view of the ash skid fastened to the bottom of the rail. Obviously, it's a front rail, but it spans that gap that was created with a cutout, sort of reinforcing that front rail once again. And then it's on to preparing the apron. I spent a little more money on that material. I think it's spruce, but slightly better quality. So that's all planed up and then bolted through the front rail of the ladder. And we can move on to the next one then, please. Right, the top had been laminated this time. All three layers of the top was laminated and cut to length. The overall length ended up being 1970, if I remember. So the ends of the top will be capped with ash, which is dovetailed then into the top of the front of the apron. Yeah, that's about it. Everything all laid out ready for screwing. So everything glued and screwed and plugged. I used U-tile plugs from an old shelf, and the preliminary cleanup then on the bottom two photos. And we can go on to the next one, please. This is the first time I was defeated by the tops, by the block board, or whatever you want to call it. It doesn't like being plain because of the glue. The glue layers is very hard, like cascamite. So I ended up shelving that idea, and I moved on to finishing cleaning up the apron and the end caps and everything. More enjoyable work. What the next, please? Right. This one shows the chop of the vise. It's partially inletted. The thickness, the overall thickness, if I remember correct, is it's about 28 millimeters, and like I say, it was partially inletted. And the Jara beading was Phil's idea. Phil, the host, it's his idea. To prevent damage to saws from any mishaps. We can move on to the next one when you're ready, please. This is jump ship again to the underside of the bench, or the desk, if you like. So using a 3x2, there's a stretcher run full length across the back, as well as the front. A couple of vertical uprights just tying.
I think you've lost Robert's audio.
Sorry?
It's just me.
Yeah, so just some vertical 3x2s in the back then, and supports to accept the shelf. Some leftover oak MDF plinth from a kitchen and to form the frame for the cabinet, and reclaimed oak MDF doors that was used to box a boiler in my room many years ago. I think that just about covers this frame, this set. Right. I was decided to make handles up for the doors out of a bit of reclaimed skirting board. It's a bit of water damaged oak. This wasn't exactly planned. It was spur of the moment, some grand idea, but I didn't spot the shortcomings. So if we move on, we'll get to that. I still unspotted it by this point. So the bottom pieces are fine. They help make up the height of the doors, and then that's the U-tile shelf then, which scavenging pieces from. In this case, it was to form like a decorative lipping for the handle pull. And we can move on to the next one, please. Right, this is the flush mount coming into its own for the first time. You can see I've used another board to sandwich the piece in between the apron and the chop. Again, old piece of plinth just supporting the back of the lipping. And once that was flushed off, then it was onto a sticking board to flush the back in, before squaring up the underside. Now we'll go on to the next then when you're ready, please. All right, this is a short-lived idea where you had the continuous grain over the full length of the handles, but it had to sit inside the frame. And of course, I got excited, overlooked the fact, and had to do something about it. So drastic measures then. The next photo, please. So the handles then were trimmed down, cut plumb cuts 45 degrees on the compound miter. And we can go on to the next, please. And the track saw coming to the rescue. Again, the flush mount device coming into its own. So the track, two tracks together, extended full length of the bench, supported either end and then clamped to the ends underneath the bench top. So it took quite a while to set up, but it was by far the safest get out the jail card then, and trimmed the rest of the cut by hand. We can move on, please. Using the 1-in-6 pairing jig again to make a bit of a feature. The plumb cut on those handles just didn't look quite right, so introduced a bit of a bevel and paired it off to the top, leaving a bit of a plumb cut on the bottom. Turned out quite nice. I think the hinges are 170-degree openings, so once that cock up was corrected, the doors opened just fine then. And we can go on to the next one, please. Right, this is making use of the waste from where I had to rip from off the handles from the previous cock up. So they're actually stuck down with double-sided tape, so it's a proper sticking board. They're stuck down in like a shallow rebate, and that's how I managed to correct the angle to get just enough clearance for the fingers. The filler shot this time is a poor man's flush cut saw, just a bit of felt, double-sided tape to a panel saw. We can go on to the next, please. Right, this is just showing the finished work of the cabinet work on the bottom of the bench. You see where this flush cut saw was used to trim the plugs that where the previous handles were. The black and white is just to emphasize that grain, that idea with the grain flowing from one handle to the next. So we retain some of that idea at least. And it was getting a bit special at this point, so treated the doors to some soft close buffers. And that's that shot. I can go on to the next. Again, it's just more detail of the finished work. The cabinet doors have an uneven offset split to allow the door on the right-hand side to be as large as possible, whilst it doesn't matter where the Tommy bar for the vice is, you can sit wherever it likes, but that door will always open. So that's the idea behind that. And we can go on to the next. This is just I was sick of working in the dark, dinge, getting frustrated all the time, killing clamps. So ended up I'm gonna clean up, bit of a paint, some brighter lights. We can go on to the next, please. Right, finally got around to sourcing the machine screws for the vice. As explained, the chop's about 28mm thick and partially recessed. The front jaw is partially recessed. So they are 1-inch screws. I believe it's recommended 1.25 inches, 1.5 inches, but because it's partially recessed, these work just fine. No problems yet. Top right image shows the inlet in and where the amount of towing that's been offset then, and that'll become clear in a few shots ahead. Just using a bit of card to allow for clearance, stop the binding at the top of the vice, and the screws went in lovely, and they even look sort of clocked, offset but clocked. And we can go on to the next, please. Right, chop is cut to length, settled on. I think it's about. I'll check. It's just over 17¼ inches long. That's what I settled on. Settled on Danish oil for the finish for the top of the bench, then the apron and the top and side. And the other images show the Jarrah beading masked off and pre-finished. And the vice all masked off, ready for gluing the Jarrah pieces in. And we can go on to the next one, please. This is just showing the time really spent making sure that everything was aligned with the toe in, making sure the vice was, the chop was aligned rather right way along the top of the apron and wasn't kicking out anywhere. You see the timber, the ash is selected, so as if it does cut or move, it's not going to be to any detriment. We can move on to the next one, please. This is a gift of. You won't mind me saying, I know this is a gift off Simon, and he couldn't have come at a nicer time. Really, he was going through a bit of a shit time, and it was a really nice gesture. So it's a wonderful book, beautiful illustration, and yeah, it's the inspiration really for the final stage of the book. So thanks to Mitch, and thanks very much to Simon. Cracking book. And we can move on, please. Right, faith restored in humanity, and it's time to get on with those tops. Ended up breaking the sander out because it just ate through the glue. The irons and the planes were just dulling so quickly, and it's digging in places, making the matter worse. So that's why I ended up taking a bit too much off the top. Not so much a bit too much, but more than I wanted to. You're finding voids as you went along then, so it's a case of having to fill those. It was always the plan to use black filler from day one, really, to make a feature out of these defects. But we can move on to the next one, please. Pretty much more of the same, more refining, finding more voids, more filling. The top right shows O-ring fitted to the Tommy bar because I caught my finger in it, so that's one way to take the bite out of it a little bit. I've done it since. Little bit more refining of the apron, making sure it's square to the top. I'm a bit too fussy, and to be honest with you, I spent quite a long time making sure it was absolutely perfect, as good as I can get it. Instead of taking the vice out, I opted to carefully work around it with a chisel plane. It's a bit of a twitchy bum moment. we got it done in the end. We can move on to the next, please. Again, final refinement at the top. Chisel plane again was handy just to clean off the bulk of the filler. Bottom left, and it's a highly tuned plane. It's just literally taking whispers off to get it nice and flush. Used a straight edge, got it as close as I could, and then the finish on it then with the Danish oil. And there's quite a lot of character coming through with the block board underneath and whatever. We can go on to the next, please. Just a bit of greaseproof paper taped to the apron. I used animal glue then to glue the leather lining to the chop. With it being flush around, you just close it up against the paper, and it was dead easy. Use a chisel end to just pare around the edge. And we can go on to the next one, then, please. And that's the chop with the leather lining and everything all finished off. little bevel around the end to help take the sharp corners off. And quite chuffed with all that turned up. Really nice. You want the next then, please? Self-explanatory, really, just fitting the bench stop. The chisel was razor sharp, but it's that material in the top, it just still kept breaking out regardless. So again, a bit of greaseproof paper with like a Jarrah box in situ, filled in against the greaseproof paper so it wouldn't stick to the Jarrah, and that tends to strengthen it up and sorts it out. It's quite a good fit, a bit of a piston fit, but it's only the top half of the Jarrah and there's a bit of clearance underneath, so I don't have problems with it binding yet. Go on to the next, please. Right, this is where the book, the inspiration for the dovetails. I was apprehensive cutting these, and was quite happy with the bench up to this point, and I didn't want to cock it up. But I was talked into doing it, so bit of reclaimed walnut, and it paired lovely across the grain, so I ended up relying on the pairing jig. Obviously 90 degree, not 1 in 6, but it worked well for the majority of these. We'll go on to the next then, please. I enjoyed it actually, and I got so carried away, I forgot to take many photos at this stage. But the photo on the right, the final 2 keys on the end, the one is intentionally bigger to make a bit of a feature. It didn't really work. It just looked odd and out of place. And then the very last one, the smaller one, with that looks quite wide and dumpy because I had to cut it twice because I cocked up. So that was on my mind then to do something about that. And go on to the next, please. But by this point, I cut enough of them. I was starting to feel comfortable. The first ones didn't look as good as the last ones that I cut, obviously. So the left image shows the lines extended from the original key underneath, so as I could gauge them where to place the new one that I'd recut over the top. And the top middle images are the same key. So the left one, it looks nice and shiny because it's taken from a bit of waste material. And then the one on the right shows it planed in. And then for the ones on the end that I messed up and looked unsightly, I decided to use a piece of ash with a bit of figure in it to make double dovetail keys. Maybe should have picked a better piece of ash because the pores, the grain was quite open then, a bit problematic. But it worked out all right. So we can go on to the next, please. So on the left, you can see because of the open pores and that the open grain and that ash, I just decided to inlay it within an inch of its life to give a fighting chance and not encounter any voids. It did encounter a few with the open pores, but it's not too bad. And then the comparison then on the right, it's not the best of photos, but the bottom photo was taken just a few days ago, just to sort of show a comparison now. The double inlays in, because the ash is lighter, it doesn't detract. It's not as bold as the big walnut keys that's in the top image. Hopefully you can appreciate what I mean, but made a world of difference. And we can move to the next, please. Thank God, we're almost towards the end now. These are just the final finish shots. So you can see the left image on the bottom right is the keys with the double dovetail keys, then with the torch held with raking light just to show off that figured grain. And the top right is without the torch. but yeah, just with the walnut and the contrast of it being slightly smaller than the original ones I cut, I think it makes a world of difference. And we can go on to the next then, please. Again, it's just showing some of the details of the finished bench. The ends cleaned up nice, like you say. So it's overkill. It was a good excuse for me to practice and practice some of the work that I intend to do, and to see, reassurance whether my quality's there, because it's been a long time since I was on the tools then. The top image shows the nice the jar of beading, got a nice detail in that. We can move on to the next then when you're ready, please. Just showing the capacity of the vice. So albeit it's quite central, hasn't really posed a problem for me yet. I was thinking about putting another vice, like an end vice on the far end, maybe another record 52, but so far so good. Next one, please, Phil. The top is about 610 millimeters, but the desk itself, I think, is about 800 and something, or 900 millimeters. So the drawers, excellent storage, quite a few, probably a few cubic meters of storage underneath. I haven't decided what I'm going to do with the void behind the back yet, but I might incorporate some sort of flap or tool well or something on the back. But the next image is the final image from the front. And that's the last shot. But when I recut the keys, I jiggled them around a little bit, not to get them too level and too uniform, but it's quite a nice flow while we dance across the front. And I'm glad I was talked into doing that. I'm not really sure what a womble is. There's some sort of fictional cartoon-like creature that lives underground and recycles waste, to my knowledge. I have a friend in Scotland who's shown quite an interest in the bench, and when I sent her a photo of the final bench, I just got a message back saying, "You're a womble now." So I mentioned that to Paul, and tended to like that, so it's stuck as the topic talk then, the title. But the last thoughts, really, it's a very stable bench. It hasn't moved at all. I like the idea of having a flat bench that stays flat. A 90-degree apron, its reference points. If you're doing like furniture making, it's just, like I say, I haven't got much experience, but it just seems to make sense to me. So that's the general idea. I forget how many dovetails are in there. There's quite a few. There's about 20 bolts. But overall, it was very cheap to make, and I think I struggled to make a better bench for the same money. That's it. So thanks very much for listening and for your patience.
That's fabulous. Really enjoyed that.
Thanks very much, Mitch.
Phil, you're
Hey,
muted if you're speaking.
Looks great as well.
Thank you. Just feeling really relieved.
Phil Smith, you're muted. I can see your lips moving.
It must be because of when I joined. Yeah, it's when I fell off and rejoined. So I didn't hear any of that I was saying. Robert, well done. Thank you for that.
Thanks very
Looks really
much.
good. Good quality joinery. Seriously, you can see that coming through.
Thanks a lot.
Few nice tools in there too. You're itching to use those.
Yeah,
Didn't know you had some of those.
well, it's like I've spent most of my life in the trade end, but it's a world apart from what I always wanted to do. So I've ended up acquiring all these tools for fear of not being able to get hold of them, and that's why I haven't been doing much work. I've been buying tools. So
Sure.
the cheap bench build, it made sense because I could finish gathering my tools, but no, it's a big, like I said to the boys before, it's a big monkey off my back because I was never that good when I was in college. But it's surprising how much reading up, trying to reverse engineer everything and understand all the processes. A lot of my tools are based on that thinking, and yeah, there was a lot to prove. Still got a lot to prove, but worst case scenario, if I'm not good, I'm not going to lose much money on the tools.
Okay. All right. Good stuff. I'm going to come to those who put their hands up again. If anyone's got questions or things they want to come back to, thank you for holding your peace while you went through all that. Come back to questions now, so please raise your hand. While you're thinking about that, I'm going to start with Paul, who did have his hand first. Oh no, sorry, hang on. Ian Lambert, top of the list. Ian, coming to you now.
Okay, thanks. I thought your joinery was exemplary, Robert. I thought it looked great.
Oh, much appreciated. Thanks.
Yes, no, I was very envious of all those sliding dovetails you did. That's something I've sort of avoided in my life, but I'll have to have a go sometime.
You can always pop down and I'll try and help you along. You're not
Yeah,
too far away.
I'm not too far away. I'm in Abergavenny.
Yeah, much appreciated. Oh, thanks.
I don't know about the vice in the middle bit. That's the bit that I'm not just sure about.
Yeah, but because I hadn't planned the build as such, and in all honesty, it was only meant to be temporary, so I didn't worry too much about it. I haven't fitted a vice before, and I was thinking, well, if I place it where I place it, at least I can get access from underneath if I need to,
Right.
because rarely there's anyone around to give me a hand. I'm by myself, so everything I've done, I've lifted it myself, all the rest of it. So there's swings and roundabouts. I am a bit worried about if I need it closer to the end. That hasn't been a problem yet, but
Right.
but that's why it's there. And in the end, it was a non-issue. It could have gone wherever.
Right.
But the benefit with it being slightly more central is, and with a flush mount, it's great for jointing boards and holding longer lengths like those, like it's showing with a draw pull.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's brilliant for clamping stuff like that. It just pins it to that apron and it doesn't move.
Yeah. I've got the same vice myself. I think they're wonderful, that size.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I really love the detail that you did. I mean, I never did anything like that on my bench. Mine was a more utilitarian look about it. But
Yeah.
I'm very, I think they look great, all those pulls and your dovetail. Yeah.
Well, much appreciated.
So,
Thanks a lot. Cheers again.
enjoyed seeing that. Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Ian. All right. I'll move on then, if that's okay. And I'm going to move on to Matthias, who's next. Let me just replace.
Well, let me start by joining the choir that Ian just started. That was gorgeous work, really impressive. I love the fact that you put so much effort into getting beautiful joints in a spot where basically no one will ever see them, but you will always know that they are there and that they look that good. It's I'm familiar with that way of thinking. Let's just put it that way.
Thanks.
Wonderful, wonderful work. I was wondering what some of the early stages when you were showing when you were doing the basic framework, that construction grade pine, all flat sawn. Did you have any problems during the process with much movement?
Not really, no.
No.
No. I was quite surprised. All along from the decision to use those cardboard tops to being in like what Americans would call a big box store.
Yeah.
Or worse, not even that, I suppose. It you know, I don't know if you've heard of Trago Mills, but they sell a bit of everything, and yeah, it wasn't ideal, but I went through it. I picked the best I could.
Yeah.
And even the best, you can see the twists, you know. But
oh
but
yes,
no, it's
big
pleasantly
box
surprised.
store. Yeah, big box store bananas. We have all met them.
Yeah, it was part of it was more like a sort of a challenge, staying true to the brief.
Yeah.
And that's why I persevered with the tops instead of buying something decent, which I could have for the point that I was doing them. But yeah, it was about keeping to the brief.
Yeah.
Being able to gather the rest of my tools and
and another question, would now that you've done it, is there anything that you think back and say, well, that I should have done differently?
not really.
No? Good on you.
I wouldn't use these tops again, given the choice. No chance. But apart from the location of the vice, which, like I said, at the moment, it's not really an issue, and I could always put the vice on the end, which would solve that problem. So, not really, no. No, it turned, like I said, it evolved into something, a labour of love. Then, when the frames came together and it was solid, and it was, you know, I was quite impressed, if I'm honest. You know, I had a lot to prove to myself.
I think it's fair to say we are all impressed, so you definitely should be. One more question: do you have a rough idea of how much it weighs?
I can lift one end if I think about it. But you know, if I walk up to it casually, no, you've got to put a bit of effort. It's considerable. And with the tools and everything in the drawers, it's absolutely solid.
Yeah.
And that's one thing which I set out to do and achieved then, and I'm chuffed to bits. You know, like your Shawbergs benches and whatnot. I wouldn't swap this for the world.
Yes.
It's solid. So yeah, it's quite simple in its features, but it does what I set out to do, really.
Excellent. Well, again, congratulations. I'm truly impressed, and I very much enjoyed your presentation. So thank you so much.
Much appreciated. Thanks, Matthias.
Yeah, thanks, Matthias. Okay, next up, I did say Paul before. Paul, it's back to you now. If you're happy, I'll move on to you now.
Yeah, that's fine.
Sorry, full stop. There you go.
So, well done, Robert.
Thanks,
and I know that you had a few kittens on thinking about doing it, but you did a fabulous job.
I've been a bag of nerves all day. Spent all this time writing notes, and I didn't even read one of them.
Yeah, which is brilliant. You just naturally presented it.
Well, like Matthias said, just the act of writing these notes down, it stuck. So
it lodges it in your head, and you did a very good job of documenting all the processes with photographs.
Yeah, it was part of the sort of tactic to avoid being in the spotlight and talking shit, basically.
Yeah, but the fact is, you took the photos. A lot of people just crack on and just forget about that, but you took the time to really analyse and take photos of everything.
Yeah, photography is a bit of a thing of mine, so it's part and parcel, really.
You can tell it was Really, really good, and the joinery. Well, I mean, even the brace. It was sort of like was it like 8 dovetails in that bracing underneath?
2, 4, 6, it's 10. 10, yeah, and the vice block was
Yeah.
2, 4, 8 in there or something.
Yeah, I'm just thinking, sort of like one mistake and you've got to recut 10 dovetails. But
No, it's like I'm the pairing jig helped a lot,
yeah,
and even if I could cut them perfect by hand, I think I'd still use a jig. It just makes sense. And it's still better than using a router.
so
But no, I know it's overkill. But like I say, it was an excuse for me to practice and to try things I hadn't done before, and a bit of a trial to get that monkey off my back and to see what I was really up against. And to be honest, I was expecting to have to do a lot more practice and figuring out, but the way it all come together was far more successful in my college days then. So,
well done you. Final question: chisel plane.
this will play.
Would you buy another one?
Do you know what? I was really I bought it because it was pretty. There's
Yeah.
a couple of tools like that. I didn't really need it, but I thought, what if you need it? And it's pretty. It's a Lee Nielsen. You're not
Yeah.
going to lose money on it. So I bought it, and I really, really surprised how much I used it.
Excellent.
So yeah, some tools I think you don't really appreciate them until you've got your hands on them.
Sure.
The die maker square, not really necessary, but peace of mind. And if it only costs about 60 quid, very handy. Yeah.
Well, I'll let other people ask some things, but just really well done. It's a great bench, great joinery, and a great presentation.
Cheers, Paul.
Yeah, thanks, Paul. Okay, I'm moving on. Simon's up next. Just a final nudge. I've got my hand up as well. I'll follow up. But if anyone else has something they'd like to get to, now's your time. Otherwise, we'll be on a toast and you'll have missed your chance.
Okay.
Simon, coming to you now.
Okay. First up, the obvious, well done, Rob. You've done a brilliant job there. And so thank you for the kind words during. I'm glad it was an inspiration to you. And obviously, thank you. Well done to Mitch for writing it. You said during the presentation, you said, oh, it was probably, a couple of times, sort of things like, oh, it's probably overkill and I spent a lot of time on it, but I wanted to. Never apologize for that. Never, ever apologize for that. Never apologize for wanting to do something right, to turn out the joinery that you did on that, let's be perfectly honest, crap wood. Yeah. It will show, if you make any mistakes, that type of wood will, you lever the wrong way with the chisel or something like that. It will show it instantly. Yeah. So to produce that quality of joinery that you did in that type of wood is absolutely superb, and you should give yourself a huge pat on the back, mate. Well done.
Much appreciated.
Yeah.
Thanks very much, Simon.
And I must apologise to you as well. I only just saw, or not just, but a few days ago, saw your post to me, and yes, I will, in return favour, I will take you up on that offer. Thank you very much.
Oh, no worries. I forgot about that. The photography. Yeah. Thanks.
Right, thanks, Simon.
Thanks a lot.
Hello, Simon, you done?
Yep. Yeah.
Thank you. And good points. Good points. Right, I'll come back to me. Lay off that. Right, I've made a couple of comments during that, Robert. I got missed because I was on mute when I dropped off and came back, so sorry about that.
Yeah.
One thing I noted, I was just saying that chatoyance on the ash part of the butterflies. When I saw those photos without zooming in, I thought it was like a cast brass butterfly you got there. It looks really good.
Yeah,
I remember you making this, and we've talked at late hours of the evening, and I knew this was happening. I didn't realize it was so pretty. I didn't realize you were making such a high quality piece of output. And again, like everyone else has said, joinery superb, well done. So a nice thing. Can I, just for my own benefit, in fact, sorry, let's do one more thing on this, and then I've got a couple of questions for my learning. What have you used this for since? Have you used it much since?
First thing I used it for was stripping an air rifle and rebuilding it and tuning it. That's the first thing I used this bench for, and it's brilliant.
Yeah,
great on his face. But no,
got no holes in it, nothing to fall through.
No, I haven't done anything yet. I've just finished lapping all my chisels. I've refinished all the handles. So I've been busy. I keep myself busy and like restoring the handles and whatever. So it's all like practice to me, things I haven't done before that I need to learn.
Okay.
I've acquired.
The reason I'm asking is that the joinery is so good. I wonder if you had things you want to make for the rest of the household, furniture, things like that.
My mother wants a nest of tables, and she just wants the plain ones, with the dovetails. So just straight side, straight top, dovetailed in the corners, out of oak or something.
Yeah.
I have to make a casket for my sister's ashes, and I'll probably start making. I want to make a plane till for my beloved record planes, but I'd like to have them on display. They're the only thing really that I'd really like to see on display. So a vertical till doesn't really cut it. So I'm thinking of like a giant bread bin type till with a rolling shutter.
Oh yeah.
And like tiered shelving, so as I can display them and see them. So that I'm thinking that's coming up. But I've acquired the last of my major tools, which is the Rubo frame saws. I've ordered a 48-inch kit and a 32-inch kit. They're here now, so I need to source the timber to make those, and I'm ready to go.
Yeah. Whose version of that have you got?
It's the Blackburn.
Good choice.
Yeah.
Well
So I'm trying to source a bit of hickory now to make them.
All right. Okay. I'm in a position. I can look back myself on the pictures. I need to look at the pairing jig you were using for your sliding dovetails, but it just in principle is that you're basically chopping down the sides. It's not running along the sliding dovetail. You're chopping down the sides.
Yeah. I just grabbed it,
I got it. Yeah. I'm gonna spotlight you then.
Yeah, it's just a nice. It's an offcut of a nice piece of birch ply.
Where I've just spotlight you. Okay, yeah.
So I set the angle and transferred it onto a sliding bevel. And the plane I used, the number 5, is highly tuned, and it's lapped flat. It's doesn't want for anything. So it forming this to the 2 knife lines each end was it was easy and accurate, that plane, once the board is flat, the saw will actually stick to the board, so you know when it's flat because the plane sticks. So
you can hear the difference on things like that sometimes.
Yeah, well, in the photo on the slide where it shows the dovetail template up against it for reference, you can actually see the knife line then, or the wall of the knife cut, where the plane has split it through the middle. So
that's
nice. It's worth spending the time, I think, to make something like that, because the idea why I've spent the money on particular tools, why I bought so many gauges, then it's not so much a vanity thing, but it just makes sense to me. Keep everything as accurate as possible. Work to like a datum, the least amount of compromise, You know, it takes a little bit of compromise before things start. It's thrown out a little bit, and the further you go along, it's just exaggerated. So I tried to keep everything tight.
Yeah.
Took the time to calibrate the saw, bought new squares because mine were just, they were nowhere near being square. So yeah, all these little things, reading up, being obsessive, trying to reverse engineer bits and bobs to get a better understanding.
Excellent. Yeah, fine, good. That was it for me. Ready. So again, well done.
Much appreciated again. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Right, folks. I not seeing any further hands. Has anyone else got a question or something to add to that? If not, we'll wrap this up and we'll move on to more general stuff.